Hello, everyone. Good morning. Trust we all had a wonderful weekend, and I'm excited to welcome you to another edition of our Forex Morning Mastery. Ramola, and next 30-40 minutes we will be running through the assets I personally monitoring for this week, and I'm going to be sharing with you my ideas, the structures I will be looking at, and how I intend to strategically position myself for the next move. And it's important to also ever my discussion here is going to be a follow-up to the video I shared during the weekend. So during the weekend I shared a video where I gave a detailed analysis fundamentally and technically on the GBPUSD, USDJPY, and of course on the XAUUSD. So I will be including the US crude oil today. I'm giving you a top-down analysis on that one. And of course, if you are following me on my TradingView platform, you must have gotten an update, a follow-up update to that particular video. I will be expatiating further on that one. And for those of you who are joining me for the first time, you're highly welcome on board. I'm excited to have you around with me this morning. We're on the Forex Morning Mastery 3 times in a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and of course Fridays. And depending on the time, depending on my availability, we usually run it between 8:30 a.m. West African time to about 10:30 a.m. Depending on what my time schedule is like. So today it's 8:30 a.m. On Wednesday it could be 8:30 or 9:30 depending on what my schedule is looking like. So once again, I'd welcome you all to another promising edition. Now, as always, we will be diving right into the business, and the first thing we are going to be doing now is to keep tabs with what is going on in the US dollar market dynamic. Remember last week we had some interesting situations where last week started on a strong bearish note, pushing price down, market participant pricing in the fact that they did expect that the Fed will cut interest rate, and then the second half we saw price climb back up, closing above that demand zone we marked out in the previous weeks. Remember, we had a demand zone, right? Started price action has been trading above that area. Now the question going into this week is whether this breakout will be a valid one or a false one. If it's going to be a valid pressure above that structure, but if it turns out to be a false breakout, then we could see price breakdown retest the $97.50 level to incite some the bearish continuation to the downside. Now, from the look of things right now, I will say that the dollar is still holding strong. Let me put it that way. And the reason why I will say that is basically because price is currently sitting above that robust demand zone. Remember, this level at consistently held by pressure since July, and if price can still stay above that area, let's say the dollar is still firm at this point. And another thing I will also use to support the idea is because at the moment traders are still digesting the Fed's interest rate cut. Remember, we saw a 25 basis point cut last week, and it signaled that the Fed also signaled that there will be 2 more cuts likely this year. And while that will normally weaken the dollar, the Fed chairman stressed that cuts will be slow and meeting by meeting, which reassured buyers of the US dollar. And on top of that, geopolitical tends to flare up, the Middle East unrest and global uncertainty keep safe haven flows into. So we could have a benefit of doubt that the dollar may likely rise this week, especially if it continues to stay above that $97.50 level. Now, what are the things that we want to be looking out for today that will be influencing this market? Well,